If you want to, it just shows your face. If you want to show your face.
Otherwise, people won't see you, do they?
I mean, they can see you with this one. But
It won't change. Choose avatar? I wanna do that. So I don't need to do anything.
you don't have to if you want to. Can't read why it's.
It's not doing anything.
Okay.
So I will.
You don't have to. You should be good. And then your volume is turned off on this one, like your volume's down.
Oh, I'm not sure. Let's check.
Okay. But you should be good, and if not, just call me back in, I don't have any.
System. I wanna have my volume off, right?
Yeah, you want your volume. I did, but it looks really pretty. Oh, gee, it's really pretty and full. It's very thick, which is what I was dealing with when it was long.
Yeah.
And I did thin it, but you just forget how thick it is.
Yeah, well, and then now that, you know, baby, it gets more, at least mine did, I got way more, yeah. But it was.
It's my ears wide. Why?
Okay. How are you?
Good. Good talk to you. Am I just behind you or should I go to a different spot to see better? Like, is that better? Okay. Okay. Do people come to these in person or? Like, I usually come to stuff in person, but. I don't know.
This meeting's being recorded, okay. Record. There we go. Stop share. We have a agent coming back. She had to leave for health reasons, but she's coming back. Her name's Maggie,
Okay.
and she did a lot of open house for me, with me. And I think you'd really like working with her.
Okay.
She also used to be a loan officer.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, she's very short and just really good.
Okay.
So she starts, you might have seen the email that it starts, she starts back in about the middle of the month. She might be here next week for a team meeting.
Okay. Okay.
And I told her about you too.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Good morning, Lee. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. We'll wait just a few minutes in case, hopefully we get a few more people. It's rare.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
I don't know why. I mean,
The day of the week or what?
I wish I would have had this information when I first started.
I don't know.
I didn't know anything. I'm gonna go and look at another one of Bob Cooper's houses in Brookfield that's being worked on
Okay.
today to see how it's coming along. And they're doing a sewer repair on Miramonte today.
Oh, they are? Okay.
So
Well, that's
should be
great.
able to close it. Yeah.
Got a lot of things to think about.
Hi Haley, how are you? Hopefully she can hear me. We will wait another the minutes. So have you been busy? Did you do an open house over the weekend?
I did, I was going to, but then it went.
Oh, and then a contract.
Yeah,
I saw that, yeah.
and then, I don't know, didn't, and then another realtor that I know of asked me if I wanted to do an open house for a guy he knows, and it's in Aurora. So, and I just want to figure out that date, because he's, I don't know what this guy Heath is figuring his schedule out, but yeah.
Mhm. Let's see, gallery, I guess there's only two right this minute. We're gonna wait another minute or two and see if others join us. And then we will go. Chat, let's see. Hmm. Thank you, Haley. She's at a job where she can't talk. So. If you guys, either Haley. If you guys have any questions and you can't ask them at work, just send me a chat and I'll try to respond to that. I'll keep an eye on the chat. Lynette, you're right there. And you're here. Absolutely, Haley. All right. Well, let's get going. Lee and Haley, I know that you can't talk very much right this minute, but if you have a question about anything that's come up, if you've been showing or if you have a listing, I'm not sure if either of you have a listing currently, but if you have any questions that you would like to get answered, go ahead and send them in the chat and I'll try to respond right away. Lynette is here. Have you met Lee or Haley?
No.
Okay, so Lynette, do you have any questions about
Okay,
anything?
I might have, I don't see her, well, let me see.
Huh.
I might have, actually, but I have not met you.
Okay. No questions, nothing?
No.
No?
Right.
Then let's get started, because I have a few things that I want to show you guys. And I'm gonna be sharing a screen. And hopefully you guys can see this. Let's see, let's get out of here. This is not the right screen. Screen sharing has stopped. Okay. Let's go to here. All right. I think you guys have been out showing and hopefully you have been able to see some things. Maybe you have questions about things. I know I've talked about some of these items before, but I want to just make sure that you are up to speed about certain things and what to look for when you're out showing. So when you get an inspection, oftentimes if they do a sewer scope, which I would highly recommend that you tell your buyers that they really should get a scope performed. I typically, because it's especially for first time buyers or newer buyers that are a little bit tight on money, I will pay for a sewer scope just to make sure that they don't pass it by, because it used to be not very common that people would have the sewer scope and then people would have issues. So I would say 98% of all buyers pretty much get a scope anymore. And like I said, I will pay for that. That I have a company called Sewer Diagnostics. They scope all of my listings before we go on the market. And they will scope for me, or my inspectors, they perform sewer scopes as well. They're all about $170-ish. And it's a small price to pay to find out if you have an issue. So this one, something that comes up quite often is a sagging sewer line. And you say, oh, well, what is that? It's basically if the sewer line is going out from the house to the street and there's any kind of break in it, or there's roots that have penetrated into the line and are causing some water to get out, then what happens is the soil underneath the sewer line kind of erode and the sewer line will sink. And you'll especially see it in the PVC piping, because the PVC piping isn't as rigid as the clay part of it. And it'll cause what is called a belly or a low point. So when you're watching this video, I'm not going to worry about sound, but when you're watching it, we'll try to go through it and point out where you're going to see that. Now, we're going to talk about some photos after this, and I'm going to show you signs of what to look for when you're showing a house that may be an issue for you to take note of when you're walking up to the house. And Evie, you joined us as well, so thank you for coming along. Don't hesitate to pop in and ask questions. So, here we go. I'm just going to start this video and kind of show you. So this is pretty typical what a sewer line looks like when they start the scope. And it's not running. Why is that? I don't know. There we go. Okay. So you're gonna always have a little bit of water in the bottom of them. And they usually run the water slightly when they are scoping the line. But as you see, as it gets a little further down the line, the water gets deeper until such time as it covers the camera. Now the camera is only about 1.5 inches, 2 inches around, and the pipe is 4 inches. So it's telling you at 36 feet, there's a possible belly, because the camera is not able to pick up any video of the line. All that it has is water. So this is, again, kind of a common thing that you will see when you are getting a sewer line checked. And those sags or bellies can run a couple, 3 feet, 4 feet, or they can run 30 or 40 feet. It's according how much soils have eroded away underneath and have caused the line to sag. So see here, they come back out and there's really no problem from there down. So what happens, and a lot of people think that that sewers, whenever there's a break in them, that you have to replace the whole line. It's just simply not true. Oftentimes you can just repair the break or the sag or whatever that might be. You don't have to necessarily repair the whole sewer line. So don't be fooled by that. But so a lot of people will say, well, how much is that going to cost? $100,000? $20,000? Well, this will give you an example. I have a house and Lynette has done an open house up there. So we had a break in the line after we went under contract. We found out that there was a break at 72 feet. Well, at 72 feet, that is actually out in the street a few feet. It's not on the property. So we have to have traffic monitoring, which seems weird. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac and there's really not much traffic, but you have to pay for that, the person doing the work. So the bidding includes the monitoring of the traffic. If it's a very busy street, it could be more expensive, okay? We found out when the sewer diagnostics did the scope, they do what's called a locate. So a locate, they put a monitor that on the camera, they have something that generates, I don't know, radar or whatever, so they can tell where the camera is when they see the break or whatever they're locating. If they see a belly, they'll locate where it starts in the belly. and where it ends. And they'll know that they have 10 feet to repair or whatever that is and where it's located. And they will mark that on the ground so that when somebody goes out to look and give a bid for repair, they will know, hey, at 35 feet, this sagging starts, and at 45 feet it ends. They're gonna have to dig about 10 feet and make a repair. So this property up in Broomfield that I have, it's basically a break, so it's not a sag, it's a break in the line. They have to go down about 9 feet deep. They do have to dig in the street. And they do have to have traffic monitoring. And that was going to run about $5,500, okay? A lot of times people, when they get contractors to look at the problems, contractors, let's just say maybe that a lot of plumbing contractors are not honest about stuff. So they will a lot of times quote much, much higher, and they don't take a video and show you the problem. Case in fact, I had a property in Aurora about 3 years ago that before I went out there, the seller had a sewer line company come out to inspect the sewer line. And they told him that well, let's back up. They had a clean out outside, and typically a clean out is 2 pipes that come up. Sometimes it's just one. But from that clean out outside, you can go into the house or you can go out to the main out in the street. So they went to the main and they said there was a major break because of this big tree in the front yard in line with the sewer line. And that it was gonna cost $22,000 to repair. And they could get started in a week. And I said, did they show you the video? And he said, no, they didn't. He said, they just said that I was gonna need to have the line repaired. Well, I said, can I do you a favor? And let me get a scope done by somebody I trust, and we'll find out what the truth is and make sure. We did. Guess what? There was no break in the front line at all. Now, from the clean out outside into the house, there was a little bit of a sagging belly because from the house out to that clean out, it's just PVC pipe in the crawl space. And that pipe was sagging slightly. For about 5 feet, it just sagged some. All that it took was basically replacing the pipe because it was old and it had never been supported with what they call plumbing strap. It's just metal strapping that holds the pipe level. But it's at an angle so that the sewage can go to the outside. It was $800. You think he was happy to spend 800 versus 22,000? Of course he was. And you're going to find that a lot of sewer companies that do repairs will quote much higher for repairs. So that's why I use this company called Sewer Diagnostics. They're a third party, they don't do repairs, and they report on the quality of the line and if there's going to be a need for repair. They don't give you a price, they just state the facts. You've got a break, or you've got a sagging line, and what is that going to entail to repair? Then a plumber or sewer line repair person can go out, look at it or look on the video, and they can give you a good estimate based on the quality of the video that they're going to look at. And that's exactly what happened on this house that I have up in Broomfield. They were able to look at the video, look at the locates, and understand that there was no problem. I'm sorry, I'm just reading from Lee. Do you use this as part of your value proposition when doing buyer consult? Yes, I do, and I use it for value proposition for listings as well, because I always pay to have the sewer scoped for my listings, always. And it just stops problems when you get into the middle of a situation. The reason we didn't have the sewer line repaired prior to going on the market is because the seller was in kind of a rush before he left the country on vacation, and he wanted to get it on the market. So it was a very quick deal. We found out we had a problem as we went under contract and just told the buyer, we're gonna be repairing the line. So the line's getting repaired today, we're closing on Friday, okay? But when you use a third party like Sewer Diagnostics or whoever, the chances of them, you know, not, they're being impartial, they're not gonna give you a price. That's not what they do. They give you the idea of what is the problem, where it's located, so that future contractors can go look and give you the estimate for the repair, okay? Now, the gentleman who's at Sewer Diagnostics too that owns it, his name is Matt Pullman. He's very knowledgeable and he's done repairs, so he's going to be able to give you some great insight when he looks at the video or shares it. Plus, the gentleman that he has a few guys that are technicians that go out to scope these lines, and they'll always call me afterwards and say, hey, the line looks great, I'll send you the report tonight, or hey, you've got a problem, there's a break at, you know, around 35 feet, blah, 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 and here's what to look for, but other than that, things look good, or whatever. So you're able to then go back to your client, either your buyer or your seller, and say, here's what we have. We're gonna need to get somebody out there. If it's your buyer, obviously the seller is going to be the one taking care of that, right? If it's your seller, then they're going to be like, oh boy, I've gotta do this. Well, it's much better to have it and know about it up front than it is to be in the middle of a deal and then you go, oh gosh, now we gotta repair a sewer line, and we have a bad roof, and we have electrical panel. Yeah, so that's why I like to get the roofing looked at, I like to get the electrical looked at, I like to get the sewer line checked out, and I get the furnace and the AC cleaned and checked out. So we know that those major items are taken care of, okay? So if let's see if there's another question here. Thank you, you're welcome, Lee. It's just it's a big deal because I'm gonna tell you, sewer line repair companies, there are a lot of them out there that are crooked. Okay? Speaking of a few things, like I said, I get the furnaces looked at. I don't know if you guys are aware of these companies, but you have Tipping Hat that does heating and air conditioning. You have Applewood Heating and Plumbing that do that. There's other companies. I will tell you right now, based on many facts that I've seen, Applewood Heating and Plumbing are crooks. They are awful. I have seen them bid on an air conditioner and a furnace, and it was $70,000 for a large home, but somebody else came in there and it was $25,000. They were even on Channel 9 News as replacing an elderly couple's hot water heater, and it was $9,000 for the hot water heater in the middle of a basement, unfinished, easy to get to. And when they got interviewed by Channel 9 News, Channel 9, they said, oh, our billing person made a mistake. They didn't, they were backpedaling so quick, they couldn't get it off there quick enough, but there are many horror stories like that. So, you know, you gotta be careful about what you say, but between us, I'm gonna tell you right now that Applewood Heating and Plumbing are typically disgusting. They tried to get one of my clients to repair or to replace her garbage disposal. You wanna know how much they wanted for a garbage disposal? $4,000. 4,000. You can buy a garbage disposal for like $200 to $400 and pay to have a plumber install it. It's not gonna be $4,000. It's just disgusting, and they advertise everywhere, and a lot of people use them, so be aware of that, you guys, because there are a lot of crooked contractors, vendors out there, okay? Now, what I'm gonna do is go to the photos of what to look for when you're showing a house. to give you an idea that, hey, maybe we might have a problem. So you can see this sinking here in this grass. Or there's many of these pictures show there's a sinking. So what I look for when I pull up like on this, here you are in the street and you park in front of the house and you're looking at the house and you see this kind of sinking in the ground. And oftentimes that sinking will be at the sidewalk, and you'll see if there are sidewalks in the neighborhood. And the sidewalk will be kind of bent down and sinking. And that is a really strong indication that you've got some problem with the sewer line possibly leaking and causing the ground to soften and to have an issue. It's a very common thing. I mean, you're gonna see all kinds of weird things. You're gonna see, holes like that where this is a sprinkler and it's not, it doesn't look right. You've got filling up, you'll see areas in the ground that are really wet and saturated and sinking, like this one here. Okay. That's a sewer problem. Now that happens to be in a trailer park, but the line comes out here and there's something wrong. And here's a common look of what does this look like? Okay, that's a water line. That's not a sewer line, but it's a water line. Same thing here, this is a water line that's caused a sinkhole basically because it was leaking. Okay? They can show up just about anywhere. Now, it's common in newer homes that most always the sewer line goes out the front of the house towards the street. It doesn't necessarily go in a straight line from where it exits the house straight out. Sometimes they go out and they turn and they'll maybe go under the driveway for a portion. And that's what it is at Miramonte. It goes out straight, like out the front door, kind of. Then it goes at about a 10-15 degree angle under the driveway out towards the street, because they're trying to get to the access point at the main in as easy a position and not have, you don't want to have 90-degree turns in sewer lines. You want a gentle movement. You don't want a sharp turn, because what does that do? It clogs up. Let's see. Okay. So when you pull up to a house, a couple of the main things I do is I look at the house, look at the drainage, just the drainage of the house. How does it look? Older Denver homes will be very flat. And you can see the downspouts coming down, and do they have extensions, or does it look like the soils are caving in around the foundation? Whereas new homes, they're always sitting up, there's always, or typically always, good drainage away from the house in all sides. But when you pull up in front, it's good to look at the drainage, good to look for any signs of cracking or sinking in the sidewalk, and to note if there's going to be a problem with the sewer line. And also look at the roofing. Does it look like it's in pretty good shape? You can't always tell roofing from the street, but you can get a sense. Does it look pretty flat? Does it look like it's sitting on the roofing and it's not curling up? And another good thing to do is go over and look at the downspouts and see if you see any granules at the downspout, or if the downspout comes onto concrete, look and see, is there a bunch of granules from the roofing that's along the concrete sidewalk or driveway, because that's a sign that the roofing is deteriorating and the granules are washing off the roofing. So if you don't see much in the way of granules, you're probably pretty good. If you're looking at a 2-story home, get in the upper bedrooms and look out on the roof wherever you can. And if you can see the gutters, then you want to look in the gutters from up above and see, do you see a lot of granules in there, or does it look clean? That will give you little indications that, things are okay, or maybe there's a problem. This picture here shows that the people have this sinking right around here that's cracked in the driveway. Their sidewalk is kind of fallen. And that's a pretty good indication right there that they've got some kind of leaking underneath the ground and something's a problem. So just be aware, you guys, when you're showing properties and look for these kind of things. This is a perfect example that if this was the front yard, which it is, and it was grass, it wouldn't matter if it was grass or if it's this patio. It's gonna sink like this if you've got a problem. Okay? And it's very common, like I said, when there's a sidewalk that runs along, that the sidewalks just kind of fall down. And 99% of the time, if it's like that, it's a leak or a break. Okay? Any questions, you guys?
I do. So when it,
Let's see, I'm hopping off. You do some. You're welcome. Take care, Haley. No,
cause when it's like that, it has a certain look that it's not like the ground shifting.
the ground is just getting saturated, and so over a period of time, it's just weakening and things are sinking. Okay? Now, if you put that in conjunction with, if you have bad soils and you're also leaking water down into bentonite, then it can start wreaking havoc on the whole property, because then it can start coming back towards the house and it can start being a problem. But usually these breaks tend to be out in the yard or out into the street, right? And you can see there's a line right here. That's probably where they dug the, when they put the sewer line in many years before this, that's probably where they did it, was right along there. And they hook up to the main, which runs perpendicular out here in the street. And usually the main line is in the middle of the street or so. So when they do what they call a locate, the sewer inspection people, they're locating where the issues are so that they can go out and spray paint on there and mark it for the plumber, the sewer repair person to look and decide where it is, what needs to be done. And again, if it's in the street, 90% of the time, you're gonna have to have a traffic monitoring, and that costs some extra. And you have to get a permit from the city, they have to, it makes it much more difficult. And if it's a busy street, then it's quite a bit more expensive. Okay? Oh boy, huh?
I don't.
All these fun things to look at.
So do you have a good cement? Because I assume
Do I have a good what?
sometimes they have to break the cement, probably.
They do, so if it goes under the driveway, they're gonna have to cut the driveway, and they're gonna have to replace the concrete.
Do you use a certain company for that, or does other?
The contractor who's doing the repair
They do
takes
that?
care of all that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And if it's in the street, that becomes a little bit more of an issue, because each city is kind of, they want the asphalt replaced with a certain kind of dirt underneath the asphalt, and then the asphalt, and then you have to get a paving company to come out and pave it. So that has to be in the bid as well. Last year, Bob Cooper, the guy whose house is on Miramonte, we had a sewer line that was 120 feet from the house out in a busy street. And the sewer repair guy forgot to bid the repaving portion, which was about $3,000. And my client, who's an ex-attorney or a divorce attorney, he's still an attorney, said, I'm sorry, he said, I'll split the difference with you, but you should have known and you should have bid your bid based on that. So he said, I will cut back that, but I'm not paying for all of it.
Did he do it?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, the guy was wisely made that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, if you guys are ever having an inspection and you're unsure of things, or you have some questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm glad to help you try to get through it, and to help you calm your buyers down or your sellers or whatever. But just know that, you know, most of the time, if I go out and I'm looking at a house I'm gonna list and I see indications of problems, I'm immediately gonna ask Mr. and Mrs. Seller, have you had any sewer line problems? Have you noticed? well, you know what, we did have a backup last year, then we had another backup this year, and then I would say, you know, I noticed that you have this sinking out in the front yard here. Let's get the sewer line checked out before we even go on the market, okay? Because you may have a problem. And they probably did, you know, it's just, it's a very common thing, especially as you get into older homes. Now, I'm gonna also digress just a tiny bit here, because when I sell new homes, if the builder doesn't offer a video of the sewer line prior to closing, I pay to have an inspector inspect the home, because most people are like, well, I don't need an inspection, it's a new home. You need an inspection just as bad as a used home, okay? So I buy that as a gift to my buyers. That's typically $350 to $400. I buy that for them because I want to know, is the builder taking care of things? And will they take care of things? I just closed a new home last week. There was 8 minor issues, but they were issues. The builder fixed them. Boom, done. But I've also had 2x4 scraps in the sewer line. Not at this house, but at other homes. And a lot of builders do not video the sewer line. And when contractors are out there building the house, they're not really worried of what they throw down the sewer, flush down the toilets, or whatever. And so I have had scopes done where we found pretty long pieces of wood in there and everything, and they had to get them repaired. So don't be afraid, because are your clients going to love having you on board because you caught something that maybe could have been an issue and they would have never known? Yeah, they're going to be very appreciative of things, guys. Any questions on sewer or sinking ground? I don't see any chat, so we're gonna be going. Next. This is something that just came up. I don't, were you at Coffee Talk on Monday? Okay, so you heard me talk about the chimney at the house up in Longmont.
Yeah.
Okay, this is something that's new that I just found out, that you have, when you have older homes and they have a chimney that was built for wood only, then you're going to have an idea that you think it's okay if they put in a gas log fireplace. Well, when they build these older homes, they have this, and this is a cutaway view, but the flue is like a concrete piping that goes up. And that's fine for the wood, and you still have to have it cleaned every so often, and you want to make sure that you've talked to your clients if you're either selling the house as a listing or your buyers are looking at it. Especially old homes, like say early 1900s, it's very important that the sellers keep the flues clean, and a lot of people just don't do it at all. So now, when you install gas, you think, oh, gas is fine because there's not gonna be any creosote buildup from gas just going up the flue. Conversely, it's a problem because over the years, if it's not being cleaned, it's built up with soot. And then when you start using gas doesn't get as hot as a wood burning fireplace, and it doesn't pull the gases. The chimney is too high, so it doesn't pull the gases out. And the way that it pulls them out is as the breeze goes across the top of your chimney, it sucks the smoke out, the air out, and helps circulate it and get it out. Well, gas log fireplaces don't produce as much heat, and so these old fireplace liners don't work that well. And you should really have a stainless steel or some kind of sheet metal installed into that. So this is just showing you that when you do have a gas type fireplace or system in there, that you are going to have to get some type of a metal flue. The other problem you have is a lot of people, when they have their chimney, they don't have a cover up on top. So over the years, all this rain has come down and starts working into this flue and it deteriorates. So this is something that when you go look at houses and it has a wood burning fireplace, ask your seller, have you had the liner replaced? Or have you had it cleaned and had a chimney sweep look at it? See, it can cause the brick on the outside to deteriorate and a lot of problems. And this is just showing you that if you have a gas log fireplace, it does not get pulled out of there easily because the fireplaces don't get as hot as a wood fireplace. And so it can build up with gas and in basically the channels of the flue. And then you can have I can't remember the term, but basically the gas itself can build up and you can have more or less an explosion in the chimney from gases. So it's something different, and I wanted to bring it up because we don't usually think of a gas log fireplace being a problem. But if it doesn't have a metal liner going up on these, then it can be a severe problem. And also having a covered flue at top, because when you get years and years of rain coming down there, you get a heavy rain, you could, I've been in houses where you could see that the rain came down all the way into the box of the wood burning fireplace, and the ashes were wet, soaking wet, could wash out into the house. So be aware of these things. And when you're walking up to the house, look at the top. Does it have a cover? It's a very important part of the fireplace. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up because that's something that's new to me about that, and you don't really think about it. So like that house had the gas log fireplace installed about 20 years ago. Probably back then, they didn't even think about worrying about putting the metal flue in there, but now the buyer is asking for it. Okay, any questions on that, you guys? Then another thing that we see is we see things where you go to a house and it's a good looking house, but maybe the driveway has got a lot of cracks or heaving, or sidewalks are very crooked and heaving front porches. And so there used to be a common way, and it's still out there, of what they call mud jacking, where they mud jack and lift up portions of concrete or the sidewalk or the driveway and try to level it off. Well, mud jacking is a different sort than what Lift Tech uses. Lift Tech uses a polymer that basically is waterproof. That's what you see in this picture here. And it doesn't push weight down into the ground and lift the concrete or the weight up. It expands and lifts it up. So it's not putting pressure down in the ground, and it's not wet. When you mud jack, you're pumping wet concrete down into the ground to lift up the crooked concrete, whatever it might be. This polymer expands up and lifts it up, and it doesn't degrade with moisture. It's a very clean, neat way of doing things, and it's been around now quite a while. And it also, when they drill a hole for it, the hole is about as big around as my finger, whereas mud jacking is, I think it's a 3-inch hole, 2 to 3 inch hole that they use to pump concrete down in and lift it up. So it leaves a much less marred up look. Okay, so this is a very quick, all of their videos, or a lot of the Lift Tech videos, are 31 seconds long. But this just gives you a quick idea of something they can do. So that you can see this sidewalk is quite a ways off. They drilled 2 small holes. They put these little things in, and here comes the foam out the side. So it's filling all of the void underneath. They're able to lift it up, seal it, and that's that. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it's not cheap. I would imagine like just this, that was probably, if you were charged for it, maybe it's a minimum of $300 or $400 to do something like that. But that that was down a couple of inches. If you have a house that has that much of a tripping hazard, FHA or VA appraisers could make that a tripping hazard and make it become something that has to be taken care of at before closing. Because appraisers can make it a condition, okay? Tripping hazards, especially with VA, they can be, like if you pull up to a house and the driveway looks like it had a bomb go off, it's gonna be a problem for VA. VA would possibly say, you need to have a new driveway put in. Yes, the house will appraise, but it'll only appraise for that if you replace the driveway, Mr. Seller. And does the seller have to replace the driveway? No, they don't have to do the repairs. It would, benefit them, especially in this kind of market where it's slower, to get the repairs done and to go forward. In a hot market, sellers would say, I'm not gonna do anything. You can have your earnest money back. I'll put it back on the market and raise the price. And that did happen quite a bit. But this lift tech or this type of polymer raising is much, much easier, and it's much less evasive. And as you can see, just these two little holes, and that stuff just lifts it up. It doesn't push down on the ground to lift it, it expands upwards. And it's waterproof as well. Here's another little quick video. This whole floor around this area has dropped about 4 inches. And what they're doing is they're drilling the holes in and then putting in the polymer and lifting up that whole floor. So now it's fine. This, you'll notice, is falling away. They probably come back over here and lift that up too. So if a basement floor is uneven, this is something that can be done. If sidewalks are uneven, you're walking up, and what happens a lot of times is you'll have a big front porch with a sidewalk coming down, and the weight of that front porch, especially in older homes, is pushing down, and it becomes kind of disconnected from the sidewalk, and things are odd and a tripping hazard, right? And a lot of times, these companies can come and fix that without re-pouring all new concrete. And this, they can lift up a lot of weight. I have seen them like on a front porch that was the whole width of the, pretty much not the whole width of the house, but I'd say 25 feet. And like 4 feet, 5 feet deep. And they were able to raise that whole porch upwards. Okay. And it's very cost effective, and it's also, like I said, it's not as evasive as tearing out all the concrete and having to put it in. Now, sometimes you have to tear it out because it's a problem, and you're not going to probably get it fixed without tearing it out. And a lot of times, front porches have a problem because the drainage, your downspouts come down and they're right next to the front porch. Or you have downspouts that come down and they're right next to the driveway, and what happens is the driveway sinks. And sometimes you'll see driveways that are, 3 or 4 or 5 inches down from the garage floor. And it causes kind of a problem because you don't want to have to pull into your garage, have to go up a big bump to get in, right? So Lift Tech or companies like this can fix that problem by just lifting it back up. And they guarantee the work, and I'm not sure how long they guarantee it for, but it's quite a while. Any questions on that? Let's see, we got one chat here. Looks way better than Mudjack. Yep, It is better overall, because like I said, the mud jacking is about a 3-inch hole with concrete. This, they just have the polymer fills up, cover it, it's waterproof, and it lasts for a long, long time. So. Have you shown a house or looked at a house that had mud jacking or anything done that you've noticed?
No, but I have seen it in my life.
So, let me see if I can pull up some pictures. Let's see. Photos of mud jacking. There you go. That's what a hole looks like. It's been mud jacked.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes it's better, usually it's better looking than that, but when you're walking up to show a house and if you see these holes periodically, like this is a good example here in the sidewalk. That's from mud jacking.
It's possible I didn't like pay attention, you know, enough to see it, but now I'll know to look for that.
Let's see, let's do another. Let's do photos. Of holes from Lift Tech. That didn't work. Well, just trust me, it's like this big around as your finger. So it's much different and it's smooth. And it's not near as noticeable and it lasts a lot longer than mud jacking. Okay, next big item that a lot of people aren't aware of when they're showing houses or looking at houses to list are electrical panels.
Okay.
Two of the bigger ones that are problems are Zinsco, Zinsco, and it was part of Sylvania. And then this one here is Federal Pacific. We see Federal Pacific more than Zinsco. And as Zinsco says, they were manufactured in the 60s into the mid 70s. And Federal Pacific was done, they were from the 50s into the 80s. Okay. You might see, as if you see some of these panels, you'll probably see a Federal Pacific 3 to 4 times more often than a Zinsco. One way that you'll see Zinsco is it tells you it's got very bright breaker switches, which is a common identification. The thing that's very common with them, like I said, is just very bright. They can be red, green, different colors like that. Now, if you're going to list a house and you notate to the seller, hey, have you had any problems with your Zinsco panel? They're probably going to say, I've lived here for 50 years and we've never had an issue. Okay, great. That doesn't mean that when the buyer comes along and the inspector goes, wow, you've got an old Zinsco panel, you might want to ask for that to be replaced. And if you're a buyer's agent, you probably are going to want to notate that when you're showing it before you even write an offer, if you can, because you want to make them aware. They can go home and do some studying and find out, you know, what is this about? Okay. Federal Pacific, same basic problems. They have what's called a stab lock breaker. And what happens with these older panels, they just didn't trip when the circuits got overloaded. Now, they've been on the house for how long? And there's been no problem. But it does still present itself as being a problem, especially if the house is, the panel is say 50 or 60 or 70 years old. It doesn't matter if it was a good panel or a bad panel. The chances of a poor panel are much greater that it's going to have a problem than a GE, say, that's 50 years old. And there are quite a few fires every year that are caused from these couple of panels. And there's others too, but Zinsco and Federal Pacific are two of the more common ones that we see here. Okay. Let's see. And I want to try to get the logo so you can see the logo. There we go. That's Zinsco too are typically in one line. They can be bigger. The stab lock Federal Pacific are side by side like that one. And we see quite a few of them here, even in Arvada, in the older homes. Again, your client, if it's your seller, they're going to say, hey, I lived here for 120 years. No, I've lived here all my life. I took over this house from my parents. We never had a problem. I understand that, Mr. Seller. But when we go to sell it, an inspector, because you probably didn't have it inspected 40 years ago. Inspections were not a commonplace. Now, 99.9% of buyers get an inspection. So they're going to look at it, and trust me, inspectors are all about making sure that they cover themselves, CYA, and saying, you need to have this looked at by an electrician, and you need to, probably ask them by the seller to get a new panel. So when you're the listing agent, it's much easier if you presented this potential issue to them, and now you get a couple of offers, and both offers say, yeah, we'll give you a full price, but right now we want a new panel installed. Well, at least if you've had that communication with them and that conversation with them, they're going to be much more likely to understand that, yeah, they've got a problem and look into it. I'd even go as far as getting an electrician to give them a bid and say, if you do get an inspection objection on your panel, here's what it's going to cost to upgrade it. And an average size house here in Arvada, to upgrade a new panel, probably going to be somewhere between 5,000 to 7,000 ish for that. If you put that on before you go on the market, and you can say seller has installed a brand new electrical panel, the house is going to be much more desirable than the house down the street that doesn't have that's for sale, right? Have any of you run across a Zinsco or a Federal Pacific that you know of when you've been out showing or looking at listing a house? Because it's pretty common, especially in older homes, because like I said, Federal Pacific was manufactured from the 50s to around the mid 80s. Okay. And Zinsco was 60s to 70s. So they're still out there, and there's a lot of them still out there. Let's see. Anything else that you guys have some questions on? Anything that you've seen or when showing, or maybe even you've seen at an open house and you go, I wonder if that's okay. And it's, if you see something and you're doing an open house for somebody, you might want to bring it up to the listing agent. Say, hey, Bob, I was just noticing that I just happened to open up the electrical panel. Did you open up the electrical panel? No. I happened to open up the electrical panel. And man, it didn't look very good in there. So let's see. Yeah, you think that might be a problem if you have a panel that looks like this? Yeah, those are old, huh?
Jurassic Park.
And this is even square D is a very good panel, but when panels are outside, like a lot of them are here, they get rusted, they get ugly. How about that one? How would you like to sell that house to your buyer? It's got a nest in there, oof. And be careful if you do open up electrical panels, because they're kind of a haven for bees. Bees get into them and they'll nest in there, and I know my, one of the inspectors I use, I talked to him 2 weeks ago, he did the new home for me that had just closed on. And a week before that, he got nailed twice by wasps that were in electrical panels. So they are out there and they like to hide in there. I had one house up in Evans, Colorado. We opened it up and there was a dead bat inside. So, yeah, as tiny as areas as there is to squeeze into, you wouldn't think that anything could get into these, but they can. And they're a problem. And just be careful when you're looking around, okay? Anything else that you guys can think of that's questioning? I just want you to know some of these things, so when you go look at homes, that you can be aware of it. There's many other things, many other facets of the house. The roofing is important, the downspouts are important. The grading is very, very important, and I think it would be great if we got 4 or 5 people together and just went and looked at a few houses, even if they're current listings of ours or mine or whatever, and just look at the house in whole to make sure that you kind of understand and can ask questions, okay? So thank you, thanks Lee, thanks Eve for you guys joining us, and go sell some homes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely, thank you, we'll see you. All right. We're done. It's a quick hour, huh? My gosh, that went by quick.
You would think that like clay would be not the sturdiest. Like that clay for like sewage, like I would think that that's not very sturdy, because it's clay, you know? But that's what they're doing, and that's what we're, so I guess.
Yeah.
It just seems to not make sense to use that, but,
I don't
the
know,
other stuff doesn't work.
I don't know, girl. I gotta get going,
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit.
CJ coordination, P1 simply, lovely, bingo, bango, bongo, boom, bam. Beam. It's a coordination with trustee's office. I've spoken with Christie, the trustee's assistant, who handles all documentation filings in order to ensure there are no delays with our scheduled closing on October 9th. I would really appreciate it. You could contact her directly regarding abandonment of property documentation. Christie has been very helpful and has already agreed to speak with you. That's awesome. So what's on your agenda?
I'm meeting with Elizabeth right now, and then I have a couple phone calls I have to make. A gal wants me to do a CME for her, but I can't do this Friday because I'm doing that thing with Margaret. It's I don't know, it's in Broomfield. It was something that they offered like 9 days, but it's not part of her coaching thing. So I have that Friday, so I'm gonna meet with them next Friday and do that, so.
Well, if you need help, let us know, and, you know, many people are, I don't do formal CNAs that often.
Yeah,
I know how to do them,
yeah,
I don't tend to do them, but I know Diane in here with Land and Home Group, she's very good at it.
Oh, thank you.
So is my TC, Trevor.
Okay,
He does a lot of CMAs for other agents and he's licensed, so he can do
oh, cool, okay.
them.
Now, is that something that I should do that on my own being?
You should learn now, absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
Absolutely. And really, doing it on RA Colorado, it's pretty easy to
Yeah.
do.
they are.
What are you doing?
I'm helping with that.
Do you want me to stay here or do you want me to go out there?
Oh, you just stay right here.
Okay.